Hello and welcome once again to India Today, India Tomorrow, this special series where we connect families across generations to bring you a slice of life. And today we have a very special family pairing for you. We are joined by over a century of legal minds. That's right. We're joined by the eminence gris of arguing in court, Shanti Bhushan, former law minister of the country, and his son, Prashant Bhushan, of course, now carving a niche for himself as a public interest lawyer. Appreciate both of you joining me here on India Today, India Tomorrow. 100 years between the two of you in the courts. You started in 1948.
Yes.
When there was no Supreme Court.
No Supreme Court.
And you started in 1983.
Yes.
So does law run in the blood? Your father also was a lawyer?
My father was a lawyer. He started practice in 1917.
1917? My God.
In Meerut.
Right.
After 1 year, he shifted to Bijnor, which was his hometown. And then after 10 years, in 1927, he shifted to the High Court of Allahabad because Allahabad was a great educational center. Right. And his brother said, you must shift to Allahabad so that your children get the best of education.
Let me ask you a googly question. When was it better to practice? In the 1950s, 40s, 50s, or in the 21st century? When do you believe was the true golden period of India's courts?
No, it was in the early days when the high courts, it was impossible to even imagine that a high court judge could even remotely be corrupt. In 1948, when I started practice, this was the situation. Today, the situation is entirely different. You have to determine, is this a judge honest or corrupt?
You think that it is as bad as Shanti ji is making it out to be, that you have to today find out which judge is honest?
It's not as if finding an honest judge is like a needle in a haystack. There are substantial percentage of honest judges also. But unfortunately today even honest judges have become weak. You see, for the High Court and the Supreme Court, you need a judiciary which is robust and can stand up to the government. So, unfortunately, what we are seeing today, the main problem in the Supreme Court today is that it is not able to stand up to the government in at least politically sensitive and important cases.
Many would say, of course, that this is not new, that this has been building up for years. You know, in the 1970s, for example, famously when you were part of the emergency movement, in a way became law minister in 1977, part of the Janata Party. Even then, Indira Gandhi would supersede judges, the famous supersession of judges. So it's not new, is it? The problems of the judiciary vis-a-vis the government, the independence of the judiciary, is this a problem that has existed for years, or has it got worse with time?
No. Apart from the period of emergency, after the supersession of judges, there was no problem before that of an independent judiciary. If the government, particularly the Prime Minister, believes in democracy and in good institutions, then democracy thrives. And Jawaharlal used to do that.
Interesting. You know, your positioning, it's almost as if Indira Gandhi was the turning point.
Yes.
And things changed in a way possibly for the worse after that. Do you have the same fire that your father, who is the more fiery out of the two of you? Because both of you have had this history of taking up matters of public interest. Are you deeply influenced by your father?
Yes, I think so. Particularly in not in being able to stand up against injustice, or being able to stand up against corruption even in the judiciary, and being able to stand up to judges. So this is a trait that I have probably inherited from my father.
Because you were supposed to be a mechanical engineer, you went to IIT Madras, then you went to Princeton University. Is it that he put pressure on you? Family has to be in law.
No, actually he was the most liberal father that anybody can have. When I went to IIT, he said fine. When I left IIT and I studied economics seriously for a year, he said fine. Thereafter I got interested in philosophy and I went to Princeton to study philosophy of science. He said fine. Thereafter when I quit and came back to law, I had done law formally before going to Princeton. When I came back to law, he was happy. He wanted me to become a lawyer, but he never pushed me.